You've been following this Pep versus Kalvin Phillips issue.
I haven't, Explain it to me.
No, I don't know.
I've seen it building for a while. I know that. But what's the issue that's come out?
Obviously, Guardiola, I think he, by his own admission now, has made a pig's ear of the signing. I think it's one of the few mistakes that he has made in his position as Manchester City manager. Signing Kalvin Phillips hasn't worked out. And he said something the other day. I'll read the exact quote for you. It says, "My opinion is my opinion, but it's not the opinion of the club. The club is the last word. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I'm not saying I'm right, but I just want to be honest with my feelings."
Are they alarm bells should be ringing? I'm only joking.
I don't know if we've learned anything from those words, Guardiola acknowledging.
But I think what that suggests is that the opinion that he has is not shared by the club, and the club give the last word. And that seems to suggest that he would have got rid of Kalvin Phillips a long time ago if he wasn't for the club.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the club having to accept the transfer fee they consider to be reasonable. Maybe it's the club having to justify paying his wages, so they're forcing Pep Guardiola to keep him in training with the team, etc. You can read many things out of that, right? But you get the feeling Pep doesn't rate Phillips.
Do you know if that was a Chelsea issue? Obviously, Manchester City are far better run than Chelsea, but you know the issues that Chelsea have had fairly recently with Todd Bowley and Egbali going into the dressing room, something that just feels completely wrong. And what that reveals to us is ownership having an issue over the first team, having a say on the first team, which doesn't resonate with how things should be. Guardiola here is effectively saying that the club have the last word.
Yeah.
The club presumably are putting pressure on Guardiola to make it work with Kalvin Phillips. Is that what you're saying?
I feel like it, yeah. Because you do hear Pep, the moment he saw Kalvin Phillips, I was about to say Kevin Phillips here. I think he would have liked Kevin Phillips.
Yeah.
The moment he saw Kalvin Phillips, he never fancied him. And you know when a manager's set in his ways and he goes, right, I just don't like this guy. It's very hard then for that player to get back.
You know Guardiola and the coaching staff at City, they didn't rate him from the first session. Apparently they clocked that he just wasn't the main man from the first session.
Did I just say that? I just said that.
Did you? I was reading what I should say next.
It's literally what I just said to you. Leave that in. Please leave that in.
I obviously just didn't listen to a word of that. I was just reading what I should say next.
Yes, people, what's going on? Welcome to another clip from the club. We are sponsored by Super 6, and this week there's 2 chances to win £250,000. Yes, 2 chances, and both of them are absolutely free. All you have to do is download the app. Join our league as well while you're at it. The code is Club23. But get your predictions in. If you predict 6 scorelines correct, you could be the winner of that £250,000. So get on it. It's so easy. There's a round for the Champions League. There's a round for a Premier League. Double bubble. Get involved. Now enjoy this clip. And sometimes managers, though, they get that thing where they go, I don't fancy him, I never have and never will, right?
Yeah.
It's like Roy Keane phoning Robbie Savage, and Robbie Savage's answer machine go, what's up? And he's like, fuck this guy.
Is that
It's like, I ain't phoning him anymore. I don't want him at Ipswich or Sunderland.
Is that what?
Yeah, he phoned Robbie Savage, and Robbie Savage answer machine went, what's up? This is Robbie. And Roy Keane, for fuck's sake.
I ain't talking to this bloke anymore. I don't want to sign him. Yeah. Do you think there's a player in there with Phillips?
I do, but I think, do you know, first of all, Pep's had issues with players like Zlatan, who are immensely talented, and, you can question that and go, but I do think to play for these clubs like Manchester City at their best, Manchester United at their best, Real Madrid, Chelsea winning the Champions, whatever you want that explanation to be, Liverpool and the club, you have to satisfy another level.
Yeah.
You have to be 10 out of 10 in everything.
It's not about being a good player, is it?
It's not about being class.
No.
It's not about being all right.
No.
It's not about turning up once a month. It's about doing it every day of every week and being able to put that in.
Do you think he's that?
We even saw someone like Jack Grealish, who I think is one of the most talented British players of the last generation, right? You could argue he doesn't fancy certain things about him. You see Doku starting now.
Yeah.
And if it's difficult for someone like Grealish to win him over and, get in his team and be the guy, Kalvin Phillips is going to have to pull his weight. And if you're a little bit off it in training, if you turn up after pre-season with a little bit of timber on you, I don't know, I'm just suggesting things here, then the manager's going to go,
Yeah,
not for me.
Yeah.
If you're back of the queue every time when it comes to,
Yeah.
it's not for me. You know, if you're,
What do you think needs to happen here? Do you think
they
Phillips
need to let go of him.
Do you think the club need to listen to Guardiola and let go?
You need to put Guardiola first, because if Guardiola is your man and you want him to be your man for the long term, you don't want to be having you don't want to have a disagreement over Kalvin Phillips with Pep Guardiola, bro.
Yeah.
I understand if it's Erling Haaland.
Yeah.
I understand if it's certain. You don't want to be rocking the boat with Pep.
Yeah.
And making him even feel like my opinion's not being listened to.
Yeah.
Because ultimately he knows.
And he's right though, isn't he? As well?
Pep, even if he's wrong, he's
Kalvin
right.
Phillips isn't that good. However good do you think he is, however good anybody thinks he is.
I don't think he's that good. I think he benefited from Bielsa's system.
If he left, what level of club do you think he should go to, Kalvin Phillips?
Look, I think he'd do well at a West Ham. I think he'd do well at a club like that. But they're not Manchester City.
What about Bayern Munich and Liverpool? They were knocking on the door. Newcastle United. Do you think he's that level of player? Do you not think he's quite as good enough for that?
Unless Jurgen Klopp hears that there's been something crazy as to what Jurgen Klopp goes, if he's not good enough for Pep, he's not good enough for me. And I know that's mental because he signed Milner and stuff. But you know, if the reasons are training or commitment or something like that, I'm sorry, top class managers don't want it.
But he's a better player than, say, Endo, isn't he?
Yes. But, and look, maybe he could try and have the, you know how Arteta goes, I can see something in Havertz.
In Havertz, yeah.
I'll bring him here and make him class. But sorry, I don't know, you've got to be ticking all those boxes.
It's gone so wrong for Phillips, hasn't it? When you think about who he was during that England tournament in England, you know, what was that? So that was 2020, but played in 21.
Yeah.
2021, and we're now in 2023. What a disaster, isn't it? Like,
and look at Rice.
Yeah, they're swapped.
Rice's trajectory's been on the up. Again, I think Bielsa had a big part in him, you know. A big part in Kalvin Phillips.
If only Kalvin Phillips could go and play for Uruguay.
Yeah. Will he be playing for England, do you think, at the next tournament?
No.
But the manager seems to pick him.
Hang on. Two different questions. Will he be? Possibly.
Do you think he should be?
No, of course not. Never shouldn't be nowhere near it. Absolutely nowhere near it. There are half a dozen. The boy Longstaff at Newcastle should be ahead of him. James Ward-Prowse should be ahead of him. Conor Gallagher should be ahead of him.
See, that's the level of player we're talking about here, being better than him. Do you know what I mean?
James Ward-Prowse better player today than
yeah, but you never go. You know, if like Declan Rice had a little bit of it, but you never
go James Ward-Prowse. No.
Got Declan Rice all day long.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
Conor Gallagher should be ahead of him, definitely.
Also, has Kalvin Phillips, again, I don't like to suggest things based on what I've seen outside, which is very limited evidence. But from what I see and hear, correct me if I'm wrong, City fans, it doesn't seem like he's that bothered to not be starting for
I
City.
think he quite likes winning the trophies. Like, honestly, I think he's quite happy.
He's the David May of Man City.
Yeah, I think he does.
David May was decent anyway.
He does seem to be fairly happy to hang about and win the trophies and earn the money. I mean, he got told in the summer that his playing time wouldn't be increased, and he didn't exactly break his neck to leave. So maybe,
and he had options. Was he linked with Newcastle, West Ham? He was linked with a few good teams. Newcastle could be looking for him, depending on what happens with their Tonali. You know, who knows what's going to happen there. So they could be looking at him. But yeah, if I was one of the managers at a top club, I wouldn't be thinking I can turn him around.
15 approaches for Kalvin Phillips. 15 clubs. At least.
You sure it weren't 15 approaches from one club? That feels like too.
Just like really persistent. just a really persistent manager.
Again. Yeah.
Just wondered if you changed your mind on the conversation we had yesterday.
And Pep's like, I haven't changed my mind.
No,
I still want him out.
Him to leave.
Yeah. But them lot upstairs, they don't listen. I wonder what it is. Does he have some pictures on somebody? What is it about Kalvin Phillips?
It's very
keeping him there.